Good morning, everybody, and welcome back to Bowl TV for continued coverage of the 2019 Super Senior Classic taking place at Sam's Town in Las Vegas, Nevada. My name is Aaron Smith with USBC Communications. Communications. It's important to communicate and say the word communicate right in those situations. I'm joined today by former Junior Team USA member and USBC Open Championships Media Relations superstar, Daniel Farish. Good morning, Daniel.
Good morning.
How are you this excellent coffee-driven Saturday?
You have pumped me full of my first cup of coffee, and I am awake.
Well, there we go.
This could be the beginning of a beautiful friendship, me and coffee.
Cheers.
Well, and to be fair, it's a blueberry latte, so it's not like I'm drinking straight black coffee. I'm not going to jump both feet in to the deep end, but I'm going to start out slow.
I hear you. That you got baby steps. It's the
baby steps, exactly.
It's the key to life.
What have you done to me?
Yeah, you're not wasting any time with that. Even Matt McNeil has some.
We were just talking about it. This is my first ever cup of coffee. I've never drank coffee before. First time? Matt McNeil walks over and says, "Great minds think alike," and I'm explaining to him that I've never drank coffee before today. I'm down. Now.
Oh, he's talking about Reverie. Reverie is fire. We'll just say that for the kids. The kids will know what we're talking about. But anyway, here we are. Cash's round. We've gone from 198 players to the top 50, plus 75 in that crazy cut line yesterday. To advance for some bonus bowling. We are bowling across the house once again, so as you can see, we are skipping pairs, so players still get to experience the full range of the 56-lane venue here at Sam's Town. Back again on the fresh 40-foot condition, 25.5 mils using the Kegel Ice Oil. Kegel, the official lane maintenance provider for USBC short-duration events. This round will be 6 games, as you can see on your screen. 1 to 6. Mostly 4s, a few 3s on pairs, so we'll be on a similar pace, probably a little bit quicker since we have the buffer pairs in between. However, we will be looking to run down the top 12 by the time this round is all said and done. So top 12, a total pinfall will determine who's going to be making it onto match play here at the Super Senior Classic.
And I think today, that 12th place cut line, I'm predicting now we're not going to see that same crazy movement that we saw on the top 50 cut line yesterday. Simply because when you make a cut like this in a tournament, you have, and I'm going to be as nice as I can be about this, now that we're down to the top 50, you have the guys out there that know what area of the lane to play. You're not going to see all these crazy multiple angles through the heads, through the mid lane. They're all going to be playing a similar break point, similar areas of the lane, near the arrows. So these guys are going to break this pattern down. And I think we're going to see some scoring more representable of what we saw back on Thursday during day one. You know, some higher scoring, especially as we get towards the end of this set into games 4, 5, and 6.
I would agree 100% with you. And, just definitely the players who are more comfortable with the pattern have seen it, kind of understand the ball motion to create. So it's not so much a matter of figuring out the pattern at this point. These guys are familiar. It took what were we at, 206, I believe, and change to make the cut here. So, obviously there's going to be some small variances here and there. But
right.
For these folks, it's going to be all about execution from here on out. It's not really going to be a secret ball out of the bag, more than likely. It's going to be about making the best shots you can, taking advantage of the good pairs when you hit them, turn those 230s, 240s in when you can, and consistently doing that for 6 games. So we talk so much about different speeds of an event, and even though we're still looking at 18-game totals, we kind of turn into more of a sprint now that we're looking at the back third to determine who's making it to match play.
Yeah, with these guys, like you talked about, having those dead pairs in between, you're not worried about giving 1 or 2 lane courtesy or the jump rule that most PBA tournaments, or all PBA tournaments, seeing a lot of these guys have bowled and have PBA success, have PBA experience. So they were pretty much following that jump rule all tournament. But now with these dead pairs in between, they don't have to worry about courtesy. So we're going to see a lot quicker pace today. Add in, I think we're going to see more strikes. These 6 games are going to fly by compared to the last 4 6-game blocks we've witnessed the last 2 days.
I would agree with that. And then for our match play round, it's going to take place an hour later just because of we are going to be contesting the rest of the event on fresh oil the rest of the way out. So folks will be getting the lanes conditioned. Once again, Kegel, our official lane maintenance provider, will be taking care of that for us. And we'll also have for the folks who did not make it to the round of 50 here, there will be a additional sweeper for them to compete. So that's one of the things over the course of the years when the guys come out to bowl these events, they're here to bowl. You know, they want their games in. You know, sometimes 12 games doesn't necessarily go your way, but you know, get a little more in there, especially if you're bowling the senior masters. Stay loose that way. Continue to throw some good shots. So that'll be going on here at Samstown as well during the match play round. So there'll be plenty of excitement going on. We're not covering the sweeper. That's separate of us. But we'll be focused on match plays. We'll get at least 2 players locked in for our stepladder final.
One of my favorite stories about having a post-cut sweeper was back at the Bradley Open in Louisville back in February. It was on Super Bowl weekend. And that Saturday was they made the first cut to Saturday night, and then there was a second cut to Sunday morning. Well, Sunday, on Super Bowl Sunday every year, there's a Super Bowl Sunday sweeper at Dixie Bowl, one of the bowling centers back home. And a lot of the locals didn't realize, A, that the Bradley was going on, B, how strong the Bradley field is, and C, that some of those guys that didn't make the Sunday cut for the Bradley were going to show up at this sweeper. So all these locals show up for their normal Super Bowl Sunday sweeper at Dixie Bowl, and the finals ended up being A.J. Rice and Ronnie Sparks.
And those guys are not bad at the bowling.
No, they're not. I felt bad for my fellow Louisville bowlers who showed up, and those weren't the only 2. You had plenty more guys with massive national name recognition.
We had something similar in Northwest Indiana to continue on that story. We had a weekly PBA pattern. Hugh Miller.
Ooh, get that 6-8 out of there. Bye-bye.
For the front 6. We're seeing all these strikes on 21 and 22 after.
We're seeing some, yeah, after
some weird hits yesterday. But Ron Moore opened the floodgates after his 300 yesterday.
That's what it was. He showed a pair could be beat. But continue.
But we had basically it was a sweeper. It was a 2-game qualifier, cut to however many, then work your way through the field from there. So it always made for a fun night. And that was back when the animal patterns were just coming out. So all of those. But we used to have a PBA tour stop make its way to Hammond, Indiana. So on the PTQ day ended up being the same day as the sweeper later that night. So of course there's a few of the guys. Obviously, when you get comfortable bowling on those things, you want to try it out on that level. So, a handful of guys bowled the PTQ that week. But, word definitely spreads around from the group. And all of a sudden, we're all the rumors are going on about who's going to be there, who's going to show up. And, the big name we thought was going to show up was Norm. Norm didn't end up showing up, but Farrell Williams ended up making his appearance there at Plaza Lanes in Highland, and yeah, everyone was just kind of in awe watching Farrell.
For those of you that don't know who Farrell Williams is, just to give you a quick stat, I don't know the hard number, but I know that Farrell is up there with Adam Barta for the most certified 300 games ever. Farrell is, I know Adam is north of 200. Farrell, I know he's above 150. I don't know if he's reached 200 yet, but the fact that we're trying to figure out is he north of 150 or 200 is the stat in and of itself. So yeah, that's when a guy like Farrell shows up to a tournament and you don't know, you've never seen him, you watch him.
Oh yeah, it was definitely he was stealing the show for that evening. Stealing the show right now in our featured pairs, bunch of strikes, courtesy of Tom Baker, Hugh Miller, John Babbitt, and Steve Silfka. As no open so far, and a slew of strikes. So Daniel, as you predicted,
Oh, no.
Wow, 22.
That's that funny hit.
Wow.
We talked about it for 2 days. Wow.
And we had seen some of those too. When Johnny Petraglia was on here, I remember he had a very similar leave, except I believe he got the 5
He got the
out.
5 out, yeah.
But wackiness. 21 and 22. It tricked us for a while there. Steve says, I'm not gonna focus on that. I'm just gonna make a quality shot. Steve went big the last game to make it into this round here.
Scrolling through a couple of the other, is he gonna make the 5-10? No. Scrolling through a couple of the other pairs, the owner of the highest 6-game block of the tournament so far, Benny Hafes, on the front 5. He shot 1479 yesterday.
Woo.
Now to make that front 6. Daryl Bowers on the front 6. Of course, our pair right here, Hugh Miller was. Robert Reed, front 5. Joe Salvini, as soon as I say front 6, splits in the 7th. Yeah, there are strikes. I'm seeing maxes of 279 and 280 and 290 all over the place. Kevin Croucher on lane 6 with the front 4.
The sprint has begun.
Yes, it has. One of the names mentioned. I guess I can say it's a cool story because he made the cut and has started off strong days. Joe Salvini, who day 1 of qualifying thought it was a 5-game block, and he was on one of our featured pairs for Game 6, and we were kind of wondering what's the holdup, what's going on. I thought there might have been an injury or something, and you got up and went and talked to Greg, our tournament director, and came back and confirmed that Joe, in fact, thought it was a 6-game block, or a 5-game block, so he left after Game 5. Had to get 2 frames worth of zeros. Came in, went open in the 3rd, 4th. Struggled through for 143, and then bowled out of his mind yesterday to make up that deficit, make the cut, and now he's striking on this Saturday morning.
And Joe's a player we've seen at the Senior Masters in previous years, and has made some runs through the bracket as well. So definitely not surprised to see him kind of shake something like that off. And as I said right then and there, it's at some point it's going to be a fun story to tell for him, and it just turned out to be the next day because he ends up making the cut. So we'll see how much those pins, obviously looking at the 18-game total for match play, end up affecting him. But yeah, making the cut after basically bowling 1 game with 8 frames, starting with 2 opens.
Daryl Bauer, Benny Hafes, and Robert Reed all on front 6. I believe Hafes is now front 7.
Robert Reed was 6 in a row as well, still.
As Tom Baker pitches one a little wide in the 9th, looking to max at 280. He's a 1-2-4, and that'll bring it down to a possible 257. Hugh Miller put a strike on the back end of that unlucky 5-10 on 22, back up on 22.
Really?
Wow.
What on earth is happening here? Holy cow. This isn't right. What are you doing to us, 22? Specifically to Hugh. That's
to Hugh.
Absolutely nuts.
Good golly gee. Don't chop it. Oof. Man. I kind of don't know what to say after something like that. After back-to-back shots like that.
That's absolutely 100% true.
We'll have to keep that little nugget right there in the back of our minds and see where Hugh's at in 6 games, and see just what those 2 bad breaks may have cost him. Benny Hafes up in the 8th frame on the front 7 over on lanes 9 and 10, and he split. I think there's a red number. We're situated basically behind 20 and 21, and it looks like there's a red number.
It's definitely a spare ball he has out there. So
it was a 2-4-10, I bet, because he just took the 4 off the 2.
Yep.
Okay.
7 count just popped up there on live scoring. So we are
Daryl Bauer has thrown the strike in the 8th. Over on 13 and 14. And that just leaves himself and Robert Reed down on 25.
Looks like Robert's going to be stepping up. Oh, there he is.
Right there. And slaps out the half 10. So Robert Reed and Daryl Bauer both on front 8.
All right, we got one on each side of us.
Good thing there's 2 of us here for video.
I know.
So if we go quiet in a few minutes, you'll know why.
This will be true, and we'll be quickly departing. And
I thought you said quickly partying.
oh, well, that too.
I was like, well, it is a little early, but I guess in Vegas it's always party time.
Vegas, baby, Vegas. So Steve finishes up with a great 2 of 45 to kick things off. Once again, he needed the big game to get in, so continuing that momentum. John Babbitt's going to be in the 220s, 224. You can still get to 234 this game, but one of those things when you start thinking about
where those pins went.
Easily could have been
yes,
looking 250, 260, 270, maybe even front 9 right now.
So those are the only scores in so far to report. Are these on our featured pairs? Tom Baker strikes in the 10th frame, looking to shoot 257.
Yeah, if this is going to be our pace, we are going to have a nice long break in between blocks here. These guys are
Some more time for
moving
coffee.
quickly. And the messenger kicks across for Hugh, which is of just a small part of the redemption he is owed for those 2 hits.
I think he's pretty glad to be off lane 22.
I don't think he wants to be back there until absolutely necessary. I suppose if he hits it again, that's good, because that means he would be
Still bowling?
onto the next round.
Yeah.
So small victories here and there.
Joe Salvemini, after that split in the 7th on front 6, has thrown 3 on the back end of it. He's looking to shoot 260.
Got Daryl Bauer up right now to our left. It looks like,
Oh!
Did he just trip the 2-8?
The 248.
Oh.
Yes, he did.
Daryl Bauer. All right, we got one. I finally get to walk over to one. It's finally on my side.
Go have fun.
How's your knee doing today, or your leg doing today? By the way, from your accident
The
after your 298.
when the hot water in the shower this morning hit it, it hurt a little bit, but I'm okay.
All right, okay, I'm glad.
I'm a fighter.
He's tough. He's a hockey player, folks.
Tom Baker, 247. And Hugh Miller, after those back-to-back pocket splits on 22, punches out for 234. Robert Reed stepping up in the 9th frame down on lane 26. He is in his stance. He's set. He's ready. Ball's off his hand. A little bit of loft out there. It looked right. Carries the half pocket. We have dueling front 9s here. Daryl Bauer down on 13 and 14. Aaron's about to head down there as Ron Holt finishes up his 10th frame right in front of Daryl. And we still got a couple minutes before Robert's going to be up on 25. He's got defending champion Mike Diaz on top of him on the screen. Diaz can double the 10th and get into the 220s. Mike went 223, 220 the last 2 games yesterday to jump into the cut. Michael Warren on a 4-bagger opens the 10th for a 200 even. Takeo Saki can spare a single pin in the field ball to shoot 200 even. This all going down on 9 and 10. Benny Hafes, after that split on front 7 on that pair, has doubled in the 9th and 10th. He's looking to punch for a nice 265. On our pair to the left, Ty Dawson, first strike in the 10th, trying to double for the 240s. Pete McCordick is up. Double put him in the 240s. McCordick gets the first one. Diaz on a pair to our right, strikes first shot in the 10th. It's like Darrell Bauer has thrown the first strike in the 10th for the front 10. Aaron's down there collecting video for that moment. Benny Hapes has doubled in his 10th frame. 9 count in the fill, looks like 264. Some other scores to report. Kevin Fothery, 181, missed 2 single pins and split the 10th. Bauer throws the 11th one on that pair as well as Alan Sabin trying to strike the 10th for 200 even. Ronald Holt shot 228. And Robert Reed up in the 10th. Reed split the first shot in the 10th, 4-7-10. Darrell Bauer, 300. Trips the 4. Did he get the 10? I think he did. I can't tell. He did. A very subdued reaction down on lanes 13 and 14, but Darrell Bauer opens up game 1 of the Cashers round with a 300 he came into today at plus 281. That will bump him up to plus 381 again. Bob Reed was on the front 9. A little left off his hand. He's playing more towards the gutter, a little further right than most of his competitors. And went through the face 4-7-10. He got 2 on the fill, or 2 on the split attempt for a 265. He came in at plus 36. So that'll bump him up to 301. Our featured pair we will have in front of us Takeo Saki, Michael Warren, and Benny Hapes. They have a vacancy on their pair. So just 3 on our featured pair in front of us. How exciting was that? As Aaron Smith joins us back in the booth.
I got a 300. Did you get a 300?
No, unfortunately, my guy missed a little left off his hand and split in the 10th.
Still a strong start there for Rob Reed. He was the cut, essentially heading into the top 12 to start. So to be in the 260s, I'm guessing then. Or
he is Robert Reed. I've got it plus 301.
Oh, I meant for the game itself.
Oh, he was 236 coming into the game, 265 for the game.
Okay, perfect.
So plus 301 overall.
Yeah, Darrell threw the first 2 pretty flush. That last one got a little sketchy, but the important thing is they all fell. So some trip 4 action.
Oh, that's what I'm talking about.
So we'll have that up on the official Sport of Bowling USBC page momentarily here.
Our 2 leaders coming into today, Ron Moore and Kevin Croucher, crossing with each other. They're finishing up on 5 and 6. Kevin just doubled the 10th. If he strikes in the fill, it's 246. Ron Moore just threw his second shot in the 10th for a double. He strikes in the fill. That'll put him 249. Today's going to be a very fast and furious day when it comes to the pace on the lanes.
Fast and Furious. It sounds like a great idea for a movie concept.
We should go in on that.
It'd make millions. Looks like Kevin Croucher 246 and Ron Moore, well, his score has already disappeared. Puts Croucher at 439 overall. Ron Moore up to 512. Which, if I'm doing the math right, and I am, that means he punched for 249 that game. As Aaron's working feverishly over there to get that video spliced, put together, and loaded up onto the Sport of Bowling, the official Sport of Bowling USBC Facebook page. This is true. I am trying to do this. Trying to chase down some scores here and give an update after game one.
So many noises in my head right now. Plugging things in, turning volumes up there again. Our featured pair in front is Benny Hafes after opening spare. There's audio of the Darrell Bauer 300. He flushed on the first one. You just hear the sound, it sounds good. The 11th one, another flush shot. And listen to the difference on this 12th one, this trip 4. It wasn't as crisp, you can hear it. But you know what? Doesn't matter if they all sound the same. It looks the same on the scoreboard. Beautiful 300. All right, some unofficial numbers as we are quickly working our way through game 2. Most pairs looking to be about third, fourth frame. Our featured pair with only 3 bowlers on it. Closing up the 5th as Benny Hafes strikes a 3-bagger on the back of spare to start. Top hasn't changed too much. Ron Moore, 512. Kevin Croucher, 439. Benny Hafes, 399. Darrell Bauer up from 281 to 381. That nice 300. Takeo Saki shot an even 200 to stay at plus 337. Twelfth place right now, unofficially, Alan Sabin at plus 293. And then it is a 26-pin gap back to Johnny Petraglia at plus 267 after he shot 236 game 1. Marv Sargent in 14th at plus 252. Rick Gergen at plus 229 in 15th. So if those numbers are correct, what I'm doing is clicking through all the live scoring pages on the website, trying to catch the scores as they are and doing some math. So that's why I say highly unofficial numbers. But if those are correct, that is a big gap from Alan Sabin in 12th, 26 pins back to Johnny Petraglia in 13th. And then quite the gap up top, which we know that's good. With Ron Moore plus 512, Kevin Croucher 439, and then 40 back to Benny Hafes at 399. Take a look at some of the scores throughout the house now that we're quickly moving through game 2. Ron Moore with an early 3-bagger. Kevin Croucher flags a single pin in the second. bookends that second frame with a strike in the first and a 9 spare in the third. You never want to see a missed single pin. Benny Hapes, 4 in a row on the featured pair. Ty Dawson, the front 4, down on lanes 29 and 30. The foursome of Slivka, Miller, Babbitt, and Baker all working their way into the 8th frame already. I thought today's pacing might be a little more uniform, with everybody kind of having the freedom to go when they want, not having to worry about lane courtesy. These guys are, I don't want to say quick to get on the approach, but they're up when they're physically up there when their arrows are on the board. They're not waiting around. But I was wrong on that as far as the evenness of the pace, because we've got pairs with 3 that are in the 3rd and 4th frame, and pairs with 4 that are in the 7th and 8th frame. So there's no rhyme or reason. Again, scrolling through the house, an early string by Ron Moore, front 3. Ty Dawson was working on the front 4. A couple guys can max out at 250 through the 6th and 7th frames. Still some chances for those max scores to drop. Ty Dawson split the 5th, and I believe that was the only guy this game that had a chance at giving us another 300. I think they'd be asking a little bit too much for back-to-back 300s. But one yesterday by Ron Moore here on the featured pair, 21 to 22. And one that just this morning, about 10 minutes ago, by Darrell Bauer over on 13 and 14. Okay, after 13 games, Ron Moore 512, Kevin Croucher 439. All the top numbers look to be correct. 12th place, as the screen scrolls in front of us, is indeed Alan Saban 293, Johnny Petraglia 267, Marv Sargent 252, Rick Gergen 229, and Gary Morgan in 15th at 213. Scratch that, Gary Morgan in 16th at 213. Roy Yamanua at 210, Junichi Yajima at 205, Harry Sullins at 202, and in 20th, John DeSantis at 197. Some of the names in the middle of that top 12 that weren't previously mentioned: Pete McCordick at 321, Ty Dawson at 310, Tom Baker 308, Robert Reed 301, Chris Keene 297, Hugh Miller 294, and then Saban is your 12th place cut with 5 games to go at 293. So we see a gap between first and second, a nice little 73 pin gap between Kevin Croucher in second, Ron Moore in first. It's a 40 pin drop down to Benny Hapes in third. And then you see a 44-pin drop between Darrell Bauer in 4th and Takeo Saki in 5th. And then you could throw basically 12th place through 5th through 12th are all under about a 43-pin blanket. And we've seen guys in this tournament can quickly, and again, lane 22, that pin comes flying off the right side of the 10-pin sideboard and flies in front of the 610 on that high flush hit for Takeo Saki. But we've seen guys in this tournament, they can quickly go 260, 170. So it's, when you're tracking these scores, typically if the cut line's 12th, you may track all the way down to 17th or 18th. But with as easily as these scores can go up and down, we're almost tracking down into the mid-20s when we're getting scores, trying to keep you updated on this cut line.
Whew. Just like that. What happened? Where are we?
We are midway through game 2 on most pairs.
Wow.
Some pairs, as you have pulled up in front of you, are entering the 9th frame.
My goodness. Well, for you good folks wanting to see Darrell Bauer's run at 300, that is posted across all the USBC social media platforms. Sport of Bowling USBC on Facebook, at USBC on Twitter, and at US Bowling Congress on the Instagram, as the kids like to call it nowadays. The gram for short.
No. I've literally never heard. Oh, Benny Hapes Greek Church after a 9 spare on the back end of that 4-bagger. Never heard a kid call it the gram.
Well, apparently Benny didn't like that either, because I said it while he was bowling, and then that happened. So
It caught his ear. He went,
It
well,
did.
what?
the gram. Really? That's not a thing? Did I just make that up?
We need a chap snap.
Snap face? Going full Belichick here?
Book chat.
Insta? IG? We're all over the place here. I'm all over the place. I'm the elder statesman of this group, so I can get away with it. So by a whole year and change. And 7-10 for Mike Warren after the rough 8th frame. He was clean through the first 7, and unfortunately things have gone quickly south here. And now that we're in the sprint portion of this event to make the top 12, these moments like this can almost completely unravel your tournament right here.
Color me surprised. Someone left the pocket split on 22.
Takeo Sakai, though, great shot in the 9th. It's been steady right now. Get to 226. Still some big games out there. Stephen Sliff got 257. He's continuing his way up the leaderboard.
Did he do it again? He did. Daryl Bauer opens up this game spare, and has put 5 strikes on the back end of those spares and just rolled another 2-8 for a strike in the 8th for a 6-bagger.
Good clean living right there.
Don't call it a comeback.
Benny gets that one to mix him up. Sets up his 9th frame with a strike. 229 max score.
That's a bold move, Cotton. Trying to go half pocket on 22.
It is not recommended.
No.
That is living dangerously. I heard that is Ben's middle name.
$1 million.
Joe Salvimini making around 279 here. Over on 41 and 42. There's still some big scores, but it seemed like it kind of slowed down a little bit from that
Opening game.
furious pace we had in game 1. So
Yes, it was. Yes, it has.
rough finish for Mike there. It's going to end up at 158. He took a few pins back.
Plus 34 overall.
Sakai looking to clean up the 7-pin. Continue his clean game here. And
it's back-to-back slow starts for Sakai. 200 the first game. He only maxed at 206 this game. As Bauer cleans up a 10-pin over on 25, he can still strike double the 10th to get into 250s after opening with a 300.
So he did bring his spare ball today. Okay.
You can never be too sure.
Well, he didn't need it for so long.
Alan Sabin on the cut right now could max out at only 214 this game, split in the 2nd and the 5th. Johnny Petraglio 1 spot out coming into this game in 13th. He steps up in the 10th. He can double for 249. As Saki 6 count in the fill, 202 clean. Petraglia gets the first one in the 10th. Salvemini splits the 10th on that 279 max for a 244. What a big game that could have been.
Final shot here, game 2. Benny Hafes
Mixes them up.
209 to lead the way for our 3 bowlers on 21 and 22 this game. Once again, we are skipping a pair across the house. So, as you can see, 19 and 20, no bowling, 23-24. Pindex turned off. So on our featured pair, we will patiently await our next group. Looks like we still got the 10th frame to go over on 25 and 26, and got the part of the 8th and the 9th and the 10th over on 17 and 18 at the moment. So for continued action, be sure to check out one of our other channels here on bulltv.com. You can find that below the video. If you go through all the channels at the bottom, obviously you see a lot of things live at the moment. The PWBA Sonoma County Open also going on at the moment, so you can even stop over there and visit Emil Williams Jr. for a quick moment and tell him go Cubs, because he loves that.
He is a Northsiders fan.
Absolutely. So you can stop by just in the chat, say, "What's up, Emil? We heard to tell you go Cubs," and he'll be like, "Word." And then you'll be like, "Yeah." That's how you would say it too, except
How do we timestamp when something is said? I'm new to this software, so how do we timestamp that?
We can go back into the archives, and we'll just look for the end of game 2 after we archive this event. So.
I'll pull up my audio editor from my radio days and capture that between that and Emil Williams' bang yesterday.
Oh, that's so great. That was phenomenal. We could do that all day. Just
first shot in the 10th, Darryl Bauer goes Brooklyn, leaves the high flush. Brooklyn 10-pin spares it. He can strike the fill for 246. On the heels of that 300, Kevin Croucher, one pair to our left, carries the half pocket hit. Gives him 6 in a row heading into the 10th frame. He can max at 258. Ron Moore, after he started front 4, those 3 consecutive single pins, cleaned them all up, struck the 8th, trying to strike the 9th, keep on his 250 max.
one thing I'm going to point out, see if you recall.
Okay.
Did Kevin Croucher ever hit 19 through 22?
I don't think we've seen him.
I don't think we have either. So that'll be interesting. Obviously, players, we use basically the whole house throughout qualifying, and now select pairs throughout the Cashers round, and then it'll be tighter in this window for match play. But it'll be interesting to see how much of an advantage, disadvantage that could be for someone who hasn't hit these pairs yet. Ron does deliver that strike. Max score 257.
Bauer did strike his fill ball, so he gets up to 246 that game for a plus 427.
Moving on up. Donald Robinson up on 17. Comes in a little bit light. He's going to wiggle the 2. Won't get to tumble, though. He's going to be in the 190s this game, so. Donald was the cut number, so definitely had the biggest journey to go throughout the course of the day. Once again, he was at plus 75. The 12th place was plus 236, so.
Petraglia has fired off another 230 game to get to plus 304. He started the day at plus 231, so he is plus 73 for the morning so far.
Kevin Croucher continued his string of strikes, but not his best effort. I'm sure he would admit that as well. Crossed over for Brooklyn, but looks good on the scoreboard as he gets closer to posting 250 here.
It all counts, and you can't give him back.
Those are the rules.
Better shot. Better shot. Worse result. Funny how that happens.
Can be a wacky game from time to time.
Wrap 10 on that shot. Clean that up for a 247. Couple guys around that cut line. Marv Sargent shoots a nice 231 to get to plus 283. David Axton was down in 22nd, shot 225 to get to a plus 203. But coming into this game, that cut number was plus 293 in 12th place. Alan Sabin. Ron Moore midway through the approach, about step 3, and stops. Didn't like what he felt. I know there are a lot of guys. Sean Rash is probably the mostly famous for it. The ability to, if you feel something in your approach, whether it's step 1 or step 4.5. We've seen Sean Rash on TV many a time get to the foul line and just stop and grab that ball. The swing continues forward, and he brings it up over his head and just stops it. I think about step 3 is the latest I've ever stopped my approach. Once the swing gets past my hip, I'm not stopping. And whatever Ron Moore felt, he was right to stop it because he makes a great shot in the 10th. After that ball carries the half pocket, it puts him in the 240s. One more strike here, and he will once again gain pins on Kevin Croucher. Croucher with back-to-back 240 games. He lost 1 pin to Ron Moore last game. So 3 pins. It was 249 Ron Moore, 246 Kevin Croucher. This game, Croucher shoots 247, and Ron Moore's going to double the 10th to put him in the 250s. I will say this, and all joking aside, these guys, it's not, when you watch them bowl, it's not, oh man, they throw the ball great for 61 or 62. No, they throw the ball great. There's a reason they've made it this far. There's a reason that Ron Moore has won this tournament once, runner-up a second year. There's a reason that Kevin Croucher shot the numbers he shot so far this year and was just outside the match play cut last year. And I know we talk a lot about those two because they've been at the top of the standings throughout the tournament, but I mean, you go down the standings. Obviously, Darryl Bauer, Benny Hafes, Takeo Saki, Johnny Petraglia. Everyone knows Johnny Petraglia. Alan Sabin, Robert Reed, Harry Sullins. I mean, these guys aren't good for 65 or 62. These guys are good, and it's very impressive to watch them bowl.
I came back on the end of that, but I'm just going to blindly agree.
I was just saying that all kidding aside, we do make a few age jokes about stretching and getting loose and yada, 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 but all that aside, it's not, watching these guys bowl, it's not, oh man, Ron Moore throws it really good for 62 or however old he is, or 63. No, it's Ron Moore throws it good. Kevin Croucher doesn't throw it good for 63. He gets it off his hand as clean as anyone I know. I mean,
It is. Yeah, Kevin at the bottom is just, he's just watch out. I just made a noise. It really doesn't make that
You're
noise.
right, though. That's what it is. Because you see his backswing, and you don't expect a lot. And he doesn't really snap through it with his elbow or even his wrist, but he gets through the ball, and it just, I don't want to say it flips off his hand, because that gives you an image of a guy, snapping it from knee high off his hand. It's not that. It gets off his hand clean, pure. The rev rate's up. I mean, it's...
Yeah, Kevin definitely has been one of the players farther left throughout the course of the competition, as we've seen from around and around. He had the big block day one to take the overall lead on the burn. So definitely not afraid to get left, and still managed, despite some ups and downs yesterday, still managed the fresh fairly well. Went 130 over.
Yep.
So, give or take.
Yes. Yes.
Which that's usually going to be a pretty solid day in the books. Rick Minier from Houston looking to clean up the 2-pin here. Ron Winger eager to get up after that 7-10 to start game number 3. Said, had enough of this business. Also have Warren Nelson and Ron Hostler here on 21 and 22, our featured pairs. Gerald Sikora, Randy Turner, Mark Williams, and Jimmy Johnson over on 17 and 18. You can watch that on SSC 15 through 18. If you scroll through at the bottom below the video, all of our channels available, and on 25 and 26 if you want to see that silky smooth release from Kevin Croucher. Please find SSC 23 through 26 for Kevin, Ron Moore, and Donald Robinson. Unfortunately for Ron, he's going to have to regroup here in the early going of game number 3, back-to-back splits. Unable to convert either of them. And here's Warren Nelson, made the stepladder finals last year at the SSC. Won his first match against Benny Hayes, 191 to 181, but then fell to PBA Hall of Famer Mark Williams, 257 to 237 in the semifinals to finish 3rd overall. Again, we are flying by here in the Cashers round. Just hitting 10 o'clock, so we've only been on the lanes for an hour. We're already into game 3, so these guys moving at a good pace. Should have a little bit of downtime in between blocks and chance for everyone to fuel up. Oh, come on, 8-pin. Come on, help Ron out here. That was just mean. It's too early in the morning for such cruelness, 21.
All right, some unofficial numbers after that game. Looks like 12th place unofficially, Hugh Miller at 297, plus 297. Alan Sabin is 1 spot out, plus 296. Marv Sargent, plus 283. A drop down to Harry Sullins at plus 256. Rick Gergen, plus 243. 17th, John DeSantis, plus 222. Again, 12th unofficially, Hugh Miller at 297. We look above the cut line. Chris Keene, plus 301. Johnny Petraglia, plus 304. Robert Reed, plus 313. And then a jump up to Tom Baker in 8th at plus 336. But unofficially, right now 12th place, Hugh Miller at 297. The top 4 stay unchanged. Ron Moore, 568. Kevin Croucher, 486. Daryl Bauer, 427. Benny Hafes, 408.
That'd be a pretty stout top 4. I'd watch that step ladder.
Well, you're going to have to watch it no matter who makes it.
This is true. I will be here.
I will tell you, talking to Rick Mininger, pocket 710 on 21. Not exactly the break you want. Talking to Matty Canizero last night in preparation for this weekend, getting our scheduling. He said that he will be your dutiful assistant tomorrow, were the words he used. So whatever you need him to do, you need your car washed,
wow,
dry cleaning picked up,
Excellent.
Anything, he's going to do it.
I could use some laundry. I only bought so many polo shirts. So I might need that. So that's good to know ahead of time. I'll send Matt a note to make sure he's got the detergent ready.
Maybe bring you some coffee in the morning, keep you from walking
Ooh.
all the way across.
That's
Although, I will say, you did say that the Dunkin' Donuts here in the building was on the other side of Samstown, which really isn't that far a walk when you compare it to the walk that would have to be made at South Point.
That's true. To get
To
to
go
Seattle's
from the-
best, that would
To
be
go from the South Point Bowling Plaza to the Seattle's best coffee shop, back to the plaza.
that's a very, very stout point. I do agree with that. So Ron still trying to find the right look. I know a few folks at South Point have been enjoying Bowl TV over at Center Desk during their shifts, and
Lane 21 just
it's
decided to stop.
This pair's giving up on us. Come on, 21, 22. It's acting funny. All right, Rick back on the strike train. As we mentioned earlier in the week, Ron works part-time over at the Bowling Plaza, helping out. Now lives here in the greater Las Vegas area, so great to see him compete as well, though. As great as it is to see him just in general over there.
Do some scrolling throughout the building. Ed Roberts down at 9 and 10. Front three comes into this game plus 104. Michael Karch plus 187. Front three. Sam Ventura plus 159 is a 290 max through 4. Again, very early, but just keeping you updated as to who's striking and where they're at. Gerald Sikora, front three, comes in at plus 144. So a couple of these guys, again, here you go. Warren Nelson on our featured pair, front three at plus 150. Granted, I'm saying 25% through the game. Well, yeah, if they shoot 300, that's really going to help their score. But you need a strong start to put up a big game. You really do. You handcuff yourself if you want to shoot 260 and you open the game spare. So these guys are putting themselves in a good position to start strong and finish great.
Putting himself in a good position this game, our defending champion, Mike Diaz, front 6 before an 8 count in frame number 7. As Warren gets some love on the 2-pin trip there. Makes it 4 for 4. All the way from Temecula, California.
Yeah, Diaz coming in with 8 spare on that 6-bagger. He came into this game plus 100. He was at 2,900 even for his pinfall. So plus 100 on the plus-minus category.
There we go, Ron. Well, if Mike is unable to advance to the next round, we will continue a trend we've seen here at the Super Senior Classic, where no player has defended the title yet. We've had some players come close. Junichi Yajima in 2017 returned to the title match. Kerry Painter in 2014 doing the same, but no one has defended a title. In fact, no one has won multiple titles here at the SSC. That certainly could change here in 2019, though, with Ron Moore definitely well on pace. To be continuing on to the next phase of this event.
Nice little swisher strike. As if we don't get enough bowling, we've pulled up the PBA on Fox on my phone and set it against one of our pieces of equipment here. So we've got live bowling in front of us. We've been watching some PWBA on the other Bowl TV channels. Now we're watching, looks like the next semifinal match. Chris Prather won the first match. And now it's going to be Bill O'Neill versus, who was it?
I believe Sean Rash.
Sean Rash.
Let's go. Bowling.
Yeah, we're junkies. Willie Wells, front six, down on 53 and 54. Came into this game at plus 107. Looks like updated standings. Hugh Miller is, in fact, the cut at plus 297. 296, Alan Sabin. 283, Marv Sargent. 256, Harry Sullins. And 243, Rick Gergen, down in 16th.
So at the moment, some of those pesky hits on lane 22 haven't sent Hugh out of the number, but is making it certainly very close.
Looks like my numbers above the cut line were correct as well. Chris Keene at 301, Johnny Petranglia at 304, Robert Reed 313, and then the jump up to Tom Baker at 336. So 3 guys that have done well for themselves that are inside the cut line today. Johnny Petranglia, Robert Reed, and Tom Baker all in the 470s. 475, 477, 473 for their 2-game totals today. Helping themselves, so to speak.
Robert Reed on the same pair as Mike Diaz right now. 45 and 46 is Diaz. Wow, okay. That makes up for
Rick.
that 710 in the third frame.
It's gutsy, man.
But Diaz continuing to strike. He can shoot 278, stepping up in the 10th. And so can Christopher Keene with the 9th and 10th to go. Some big scores right now in 45 and 46. Petraglia, as you mentioned, 470 and change after 2 is slowed down a little bit here. Just 3 strikes, no doubles, but can punch out to get to 228. Some struggles for Harry Sullins this game, though. 4 opens through 8. Willie Wells missed in the 7th frame, but can still shoot 279. Michael Karch is still striking on 13 and 14, and unfortunately now that's past tense. Have a 10 pin, it looks like, for Michael after the front 6. So it looks like right now we're still at 2. 300 games for the 2019 Super Senior Classic. Ron Moore yesterday in Game 5, right here on 21 and 22. Somehow, some way, was able to get them all to fall. Warren kind of looked away from that one for a second there, and then
didn't seem to like it.
He said, okay. So that settles in for 6 out of 7.
Ron Moore was
that a 7.9 he was shooting?
That is a 7.9 that Ron Moore just shot on lane 25.
How about that? Yikes. I don't think we're going to.
Yeah, I think we're too far behind.
If I just see the spare attempt, maybe. Yeah. So, to be fair, with some of the hits we've seen here at Samstown, we've seen plenty of the high flush 7 for righties, or conversely on the left side, the high flush 10. I would not be surprised to see a 7.9 in that situation.
And that's something you don't see a lot of pocket 7.9s for right-handers with traditional bowling pins, but when you bowl somewhere with those twister pins, which I bowled League in a House this past winter, and my rev rate does not lend me to leaving stone 9s, much less 7.9s. I think I left 7 or 8 of them this year.
Oh, wow.
And at some point, you just got to accept that twister pins are going to carry in a different fashion than your traditional bowling pins, and it was hard to accept when you leave a 7.9.
Yes, I can certainly believe that.
Ron Hostler caves in. Kind of a 7-10 there.
All right, 21 and 22, giving a little back now. It's taken away so much.
I was going to say it's taken enough.
The law of averages have to kick in here at some point. For those of you just tuning in, this is the Cashers Round here at the 2019 Super Senior Classic taking place at Samstown in Las Vegas, Nevada. My name is Aaron Smith. I'm joined by Daniel Farish for the final 6 games before we cut to match play. So 18 game totals over the course of 3 days will determine the top 12 who will make it to the unique match play and group stepladder format. we have awaiting you the rest of the way here on Bowl TV. Oh, Ron.
Nice.
Did you know redemption is spelled R-O-N?
There's more syllables in the word than, you can't have as many syllables as you do letters.
Oh, I just did though.
I think that's a rule of AP style book rule.
This is a rule of Anchorman though.
Anchorman trumps all.
It does. I got to use that in 2017 and I was very happy when Ron Moore came back to win after the runner-up the previous year.
That's a perfect place for it too.
So I dropped it there, but after some of the tough breaks Ron had in the early going, I'm going to throw it out there as well for him to get that hit as 21 and 22 start to play nice with our top super senior competitors. And
speaking of tough breaks, Ron Moore and both he and Kevin Croucher having a tough game on 25 and 26. Ron with 84 in the 5th, a strike in the 6th. And after starting with a double, Kevin Croucher has went 9 spare, split, 9 spare, 9 spare. So if they were to punch, they're both basically tied with Croucher 94 in the 5th on a spare, Ron Moore 84 in the 5th on a strike.
One pair to our left. Jimmy Johnson putting up a number this game. Chance to get to 270 over on 17 and 18.
Which would put him at 279 over.
Be right in the hunt.
Chris Keene doubles the 10th down on lane 46 to get into the 270s. He was at plus 301. This game will go a long way to making him feel a little more comfortable inside that cut. Looks like they are done, and he is shot 278.
Very nice.
He is at 379.
Chris joining us from Cape Coral, Florida.
Inversely, Robert Reed flags us 2 single pins that game on that same pair to shoot 192 and drop down to plus 305. He was sitting in 9th.
Hugh Miller, our player on the cut entering this game at plus 297, is working on 4 in a row. Already has 1 in the 10th, can get to 234 this game and continue his upward trend. And
Petraglia has stayed clean this game, but he's not going to shoot 200. He can strike the fill after a 7 spare for a 195, so he's going to lose pins on that plus minus category on game 3. I will say we're giving you enough play-by-play with what we have in front of us. I'm not exactly going to say what's going on in the PBA match, but Sean Rash, you don't want to start a match off with a 4-9. Now, is this one game?
I believe just one game. To be honest, I haven't followed it as closely as I would have liked with my current on the road schedule, so certainly been following along on social media throughout the course.
Absolutely.
It says a race to 2.
Okay, so it is best 2 out of 3. Race to 2. It's best 2 out of 3.
Winner of game 1 earns 1 point. Winner of game 2 earns 1 point. If tied after 2 games, winner of roll-off earns 1 point.
So you have to sweep to avoid a roll-off. Jimmy Johnson not going to shoot 279, 270. 9 spare in the 10th, striking the fill for 249.
So that gets him to 258.
Yes, plus 258. Kevin Croucher opened in the 7th, 5 count, 2 on the spare attempt. He has 116 in the 7th as he steps up in the 8th. Ron Moore put a spare on the back of that strike so he can max out at 214. So our tournament leaders struggling this game. See if we can find Daryl Bauer in our live scoring. He's going to be a few pair down. I think he's already finished this game. He's not coming up in the live scoring. Benny Hafes struggling as well, split in the 2nd, single pin whiff in the 4th. He's on a 3-bagger going into the 10th, trying to get a plus game at 214. Takeo Saki flags a single pin in the 2nd. He's got a 4-bagger through the 11th, so if he strikes the fill, he'll be at 217 on the game. He gets a 9 count for 216. His highest game of the day, 216, putting him at 355 plus overall. And that cut number coming into this game was plus 297. Ty Dawson and Pete McCordick on the same pair, both about to shoot 257. Pete needs to clean up a single pin for that, and Ty Dawson would need to strike in the fill for 257. Both of them putting up the highest games we've seen in the house this game so far, down on 37 and 38. Both of those guys in the cut sitting 5th and 6th. Ty Dawson, 6 count in the fill for 253. That's going to put him at 394 overall. And Pete McCordick is at 421, which means he did strike the fill for 257.
Ten pin for Warren Nelson. He's going to drop his max down to 238 with the spare. Got into the 250s there. Seemed to like the shot, but carry has not been his friend the last 2 times up on lane 21. Left that high flush 7 in the 8th frame. And adding insult to injury there, misses it. He's gonna have to sell for 226. It's now at plus 176 through 15 games total. Rick Minier will close things up here on 21 and 22, working on a strike. He can get to 226.
A lot of our top competitors struggling this game, both Ron Moore and Kevin Croucher. As I lean over, Kevin Croucher can throw the back 4 for 2-0. Ron Moore can throw the back 4 for 2-0. Benny Hafes could spare a single pin in the fill for 203. And Daryl Bauer can throw the back 4 for 205.
So out of the gates, we were striking, and things have settled down a little bit here at Samstown. As this 40-foot pattern starts its transition phase. And
Croucher high flush, is that Croucher? Yes, high flush 9 pin in the 9th. It's going to put his max score to 186. Whew.
Minier delivers the double. He's going to be in the 220s this game. Chance to get to 181 over with one more strike.
Bill O'Neill's strike attempt, and the ball missed the pocket. The ball hit the pocket and missed the 5 pin.
Story of my life right there.
No drive, all 5, baby.
Oh. He did not have to go to the bar after that.
No, he hit that 5 pin right in the face. Another top competitor, Alan Sabin, who was 1 pin out of the cut, can strike his fill ball for 183. So we are seeing, I don't know what's going on in these lanes. I'm really looking forward to talking to some of these guys once this squad is done and find out just what in the world happened out there. I mean, typically you'll see guys hit bad pairs, but we are seeing a lot of low scores this game, which means this is a trend throughout the house. This pattern is doing something that these guys are not familiar with, they haven't seen over the previous 12 games, or even the 2 games this morning, the previous 14 games of competition.
Well, I feel, and we talked about it a little bit at the lead of the broadcast today, was that, you know, these have been the top competitors, you know, the top 25% of the field, so they've found ways to manage this 40-foot condition. And, you know, with everyone probably playing them a little bit closer to the same, at the same time, it's probably also, they haven't seen that yet with the pattern. So it's been a situation where it's been, you know, they've seen different types of transition. And however, with that being said, I think even though there's kind of a lull right now, I think it's going to set up more in the back half of this block to where, you know, once guys kind of find that spot to throw to, find a little shim, little hold, that we could potentially see the scoring pace pick up.
So maybe they're just not, they haven't moved deep enough. As Kevin Croucher shoots 176. Ron Moore stepped up in the 10th, could have doubled to get into the 2-0s and gain more pins, but he wraps at 10 pins, so he can spare a strike for 182. He'll still gain some pins on Croucher. Lucky for Ron, the rest of the guys behind him, Darryl Bauer in third, 204. Benny Hafes in fourth, 203. Pete McCordick and Ty Dawson, who were in fifth and sixth, did fire off a couple big games, both of them in the 250s. But respectively, they're still going to be over 100 pins behind Ron coming out of this game. Did you happen to see what Harry Sellens shot last game?
It was not off to a good start. I know through 8 frames he had 4 opens.
I'm just double checking because he went from plus 256 in 15th down to plus 187.
Yes, that.
You see a drop like that, and I'm double and triple checking my numbers and checking the official standings because you don't expect to see that.
I believe he had 89 in the 7th frame.
Okay,
with a strike in the 8th, but obviously with if he was unable to double, that's gonna drop that max even more so.
It means he shot 131 that game.
Eek.
Johnny Petraglia, after shooting 195, is off to the front 3 this game. Again, we've got pairs that are just wrapping up and pairs that are 4 and 5 frames into this game, into game 4. .182 that game for Ron Moore, so he spared that 10 pin and struck in the fill. A lot of bowlers went minus that game. It's like unofficially #12th place is now Johnny Petraglia at plus 299. It's a 20 pin drop down to Alan Sabin at 279, Jimmy Johnson at 258, and then Marv Sargent at 236. North of Petraglia, again, he is at plus 299. Robert Reed plus 305. Tom Baker, plus 317. Hugh Miller, plus 329. And then 2 big jumps. Jump up 26 to Takeo Saki at 355. And then 24 pins up to Chris Keene after shooting 278. He is at plus 379. Top of the leaderboard hasn't changed. Top 5 are the same. The order of 3, 4, 5 have changed a little bit. Ron Moore, 550. Kevin Croucher, 462. Daryl Bauer, 431. Pete McCordick, 421. Benny Hafes, 411. But you look at that game. I'm trying to get my laptop to work with me here. Ron Moore shoots 182. Kevin Croucher, 176. Daryl Bauer, 2-0. McCordick had 250. Benny Hafes, 2-0. Ty Dawson had 250. Chris Keene had 270. Takeo Saki with his highest game of the day, which, based on the early scoring pace, that 216 would be low, but looking at scores that game, it was actually pretty high.
Oh, it looks like and it sounds like the field had the opportunity to catch up to those top guys. As we mentioned, they've been pretty dominant throughout the course of competition, and they're going to have these lulls, and this is essentially that opportunity for these folks to come around and obviously when you get to match play with the bonus pins, there's going to be 180 extra pins out there that that a player can grab if they're able to go 6-0 throughout their matches. So that's going to be pretty important, but you still want to keep it close. Once again, we talked about throughout the course of the week, you don't want to have to average 250 to make the cut.
Yeah.
You also don't want to have to, force yourself to go 6-0 and average 220 plus to, put yourself in position to make the group step ladder or secure your spot in the actual step ladder. Quick question in the chat from Scott. How come you guys can't set up more cameras on the lanes for us to watch? We do appreciate that you're enjoying the action here on Bowl TV, and comparatively to past years at the Super Senior Classic, you are watching more lanes. Generally, we've just had the one pair set up here, but throughout the course of putting together a live stream, there's X amount of equipment you need for just one stream, and right now, between what we have here and what we have at the PWBA Sonoma County Open, right now we're using pretty much all of our equipment at the moment. So obviously, being in 2 different locations, we have the equipment spread out as much as we can across both places. Obviously, if timing worked out a little bit differently, we probably have a few more cameras up, but a few other considerations always come into this. Based off a particular place, the internet bandwidth always a tricky issue at bowling centers. So we're very fortunate to work with a great staff here at Sam's Town to make sure all of our IT needs are safe and secure, and we're able to get you as many lanes as we can. So, but throughout the course of this, as we get into match play, we're going to have kind of everything condensed in a little bit more. So there's going to be a few more bowlers to be able to see throughout the course of that. And once we get down to the group step ladder, everything will be available and with a great angle as well. That was something we've also in the past really couldn't offer, being limited to just the one setup. That group step ladder was kind of more one featured pair and then one that you can kind of see but not well. So this year it's going to be definitely a great improvement, being able to basically have a full setup behind each of the pairs tomorrow morning for that excitement.
Well, one thing to consider is that the last 2 days, each of our cameras was watching 7 to 8 bowlers because every pair was going. Now with them having the dead pairs in between every live pair, you're watching half the bowlers today on camera, but there's also half the bowlers in the field, or in the squad.
But Scott, certainly, depending on obviously how the subscription service goes here, and we obviously hope to continue to be able to expand our operation here. This is just the first few months of the subscription service, so as we continue to move forward, we certainly hope to be able to bring more and more action throughout the course of competition even just this week, compared to previous years here at the Super Senior Classic, qualifying was not shown. So for all that extra coverage throughout the first 2 days of competition.
Looking at some scores up and down throughout the house. Ty Dawson on the front 6, down on 41 and 42. Hugh Miller, 9 spare to open the game, 6 strikes on top of that, or behind that. We do have the update. Ron Moore, 550, 462. Kevin Croucher, 31, 21, 11 in the 400s for Bauer, McCordick, and Hapes. Petraglia is your 12th place bowler with 3 games to go at plus 299. Marv Sargent up there at 286. In 13th, Alan Sabin, 14th at 277.
Sabin with the front 3 of this game.
So your cut line is Petraglia at plus 299.
Jimmy Johnson after that 249 last game. Split in frame number 6. Drops his max down to 235. The Hall of Famer Mark Williams, though. We're going to make it 4 in a row here on the ever so tricky 21 and 22. It's going to lean on the 10 a little bit, but not enough to get it to tumble in frame number 6. Hugh Miller, 8 spare in the 8th. He could still shoot 268 this game. Steven Slifka, chance to get to 268 as well on the same pair. Christopher Keene, striking once again. He had a big game last game. Chance to get to 277 still. Harry Sullins trying to bounce back. He can get to 259. Marv Sargent, an early 4-bagger. First player out of the cut, plus 286. Looks like Ty missed in frame number 7, 9 spare. It's Randy Turner. Delivers another one from the port side. 6 out of 7. So Turner can add one more. And able to dig out pin number 7.
Tom Baker was working on a max of 250 heading into the ninth, split the ninth frame. Looking at 220 now. He's still inside the top 12 at 317, but just as Petraglia is at 299. Self-evidently nice 232 game. Maybe a case of a little bit too little, too late. That puts him at plus 198. About 100 pins out with 3 games to go. I say that and I remember, I think it was 2 or 3 years ago, the Senior Kentucky Open, which is competed on house shots, multiple bowling centers, multiple qualifying squads over 3 days. And in the finals, a gentleman by the name of Billy Vincent shot 837 the last 3 with a 300 the last game to take over not only the lead, but win the tournament. Johnny Petraglia, a very rough game. 7 strikes and 3 splits for a 206. Front 4, 8 out, 3-bagger, 5-4, 7-2 in the 9th and 10th for a 206. Not the game you want when you are the cut. Roy Yamanua sitting down in 17th, about 60 pins out. He's going to shoot 204 this game. John DeSantis was at plus 215. He can double for 248. As some of those guys that are outside of the cut, they see that number is kind of level the last couple of games, and it gives them hope that maybe they don't need to go 250, 250, 250 to make a jump. They can put together a couple 230s and be within smelling distance going into that last game.
Smelling distance?
Yes.
All right.
If you can smell it, you know you're close.
What does a cut number smell like, though? How do you know if you're smelling the right thing? What happens if you're congested and potentially, you're not smelling everything you should?
If you're congested, that means your arm swing is tight. You're not getting the ball off the hand the way you want, and you know it's there, but you can't quite get there. Inversely, if it's so strong, the smell's so strong you can taste it, that means your swing is free, the ball's clear in your hand, your rev rate's up, you're hitting targets, and you're there. You're chasing it, you're close. You're so close you can taste it.
So allergies have nothing to do with it?
No, I don't think so.
Okay, all right.
Although I have bowled Jimmy Johnson a light 5-7 on 21. I have bowled some of my best sets. Sick.
It's the Jordan flu game theory. And Jimmy was light on that frame in the 8th as well, and in a similar fashion, but just left a 7-pin. But once again, Hugh Miller, we saw a 5-10 from the left side. Just one of those, how could it be moments. Makes a run at it, but does not get the ball to get all the way back to push the 5 into the 7. So 181 finish for Jimmy Johnson. That'll drop him down to plus 239. Randy Turner is going to be at plus 210 for a nice 238. Mark Williams got to come back from way downtown. Gets the first one. He can also get to 238 this game. That will put him at 182 over.
Ron Moore continuing his struggles on lanes as he jumps to 29 and 30 after shooting 182 last game. He has 3 splits in 6 frames this game and only 1 strike. Takeo Saki, we mentioned last game he shot 216, which was the highest game he'd had all day after opening 200 and then 202. Fires off 216. This game he's stepping up in the 10th, looking to catch a double to be in the 260s. So Saki was the first bowler we had seen all tournament yesterday that had a chance at 300, the first bowler with the front nine. Doubled the 10th, and then a light 710 in the fill ball denied him the opportunity for the first 300 at this year's Super Senior Classic. It wasn't too much later that Ron Moore stepped up on the infamous 21 and 22 and delivered 3 pure strikes in the 10th to get that 300.
And with that, we are done with game number 4 on the infamous 21 and 22. As Jerry Sikora finishes things up, so game 5 will be upcoming momentarily.
Ty Dawson finished that game out pretty well. 256 puts him at a plus 450 for the tournament. Pete McCordick is sitting at plus 424 after shooting 203 the last game. As they begin their 5th game.
So Ty was at 731 for his first 3. Then you said what, 258?
258 that game.
So he's putting up a number here.
Came into the day plus 263, currently a plus 250. Almost 1,000. That's a 987 for the first 2.
Steadily been working his way up. Started the day in 8th place overall. After 3 was in 6th place. As we do see some fairly decent scores out of the gates here. But right now we have bowling game 5 going on our channel for 15 through 18, so SSC 15 through 18. So we have bowlers on 17 and 18 right now, looks like. And we are still finishing up game 4 over on 25 and 26. So there's action all around us, just nothing at the moment on our featured pair.
Saki gets the first one of the 10th, so that puts him at least in the 250s. Down on 33 and 34. I can see him right now. He's about to step up for the 11th shot. On that same pair, Benny Hafes will have his opportunity to double a 10th frame, get into the 240s. And Michael Warren about to throw his fill ball and be in the 180s. Saki throws the shot. At least a flat 10. Can't tell if he got the 7 out or not, but being in the 11th, really you're just talking about count. He's not looking at an open per se here. Skip one pair down. Kevin Croucher spares that 9th on a double. He's been clean through 9. Double the 10th for a 220. Meanwhile, Ron Moore doubles after the split in the 6th. A 9 count in the 9th frame means he will be able to double the 10th for a 179, or at least put him in the 170s if he can catch a double. So Croucher coming off his lowest game of the tournament, a 176 in game 3. Ron Moore about to shoot his lowest game of the tournament, no matter how he finishes from this point out.
Over on 17 and 18 for Game 5, we have Douglas Kirkman, Willie Wells, John DeSantis, and Roy Yamanhua. Already in frame number 3. They're wasting no time over there. So we've hit that awkward lull of some behind, some ahead.
Some right on pace, whatever that is.
Some just right. Who is supposed to be here this game? Let's see. Game 5, 21 and 22. We're supposed to have Don Blatchford from Santa Monica, California. Henry Dawson from Elma, Washington. Dave Axon from Bellevue, Nebraska. And Marv Sargent from Temecula, California.
They are wrapping up their 4th game as we speak. Blatchford 196, Dawson 179, Axon 170, and Sargent is, as he cleaned up a 6 spare in the 10th. He's throwing his field ball right now, strike for 255. Looks like he carries the swisher. So that 255 for Sargent is going to put him at plus 341. He went from 286 in 13th up to plus 341. That will put him in the cut. I'm guessing the cut did not jump 37 pins in one game, so I feel comfortable in saying that.
That might be a record or something if it did.
Oh my gosh. Kevin Croucher cleans up an 8-count split in the 10th, gets 8 on the fill for 211. That's going to put him at 473. Ron Moore did double the 10th, so he will max score possibility of 179. So at best, he will be at plus 529 after this game. Back-to-back minus games after Moore started 240, 250. 249, 256. And now a 182. And as he steps up, there are pillars in front of me, both actual load-bearing pillars and people. So I can't tell, so he did throw the fill ball. The score's already disappeared, but at best it was a 179.
It looks like he did get, it looked like 175 from here. But it looked like all 3 strikes though, so. Or maybe I.
How in the world can you see that far?
I have a different angle around the pillar, but. Oh wait, no, I was looking, my bad, I was looking at a different I was looking at Rick and Minnie here, okay.
Oh, okay.
I saw RM up there, I'm like, oh, okay. C175, I'm like. There's so many RMs.
Darrell Bauer, a minus game. 188 for him.
Looks like we got all 4 guys here for our next game, so we should be underway any moment here on 21 and 22.
laptop.
Daniel, while you've been working diligently, I've been paying attention to your cell phone here. And
Oh,
quite a match going on Fox Sports right now.
wow.
To
Bill O'Neill won the first game. And now going into the 10th, Sean Rash can max at 279, and Bill O'Neill's on the front 9. Holy moly. O'Neill's up first in the 10th. He just carried the half pocket 10. If he can strike here, that would realistically win the match. I don't predict him going strike 4 count and then missing all of them.
That would be awkward for all of us.
This is a professional.
Holy cow.
If he gets the strike here, he will advance to face Chris Prather in the finals. He got it. Wow. Unbelievable. That's pretty cool. Crowd in Maine going crazy. They're in Maine, aren't they?
They are in Maine,
yeah,
yes.
okay. Even Sean Rash is standing up and clapping.
Not much you can do in that situation.
No, there's not. As a competitor, it's tough. Although first game they were both on 258 max. O'Neill was through 9. Rash through 8. Rash got up in the 9th and left the 10 pin and then missed it, which pretty much sealed his fate that game. O'Neill the 11th shot. Oh, flat 10. The dream is over. Okay, we're done with you guys. We'll see you all in 20 years.
Woo. All right, that was...
Not even, probably 25 years.
I don't know, Bill's kind of getting up there. How about... You know when you just see something randomly and you're like,
huh,
18 real quick.
Oh, the 1-5 is missing.
The 1-5 is missing. Oh,
it's just throwing pins.
Marv gets the 4-pin to slide out there. Game 5 now underway, 21-22.
Unofficially, with 2 games to go. Ron Moore, 529, with back-to-back minus games. Kevin Croucher, 473. Benny Hafes, 455 after a 244 game. Ty Dawson in 4th at plus 450 after a 256 game. Pete McCordick in 5th at 424 over. Chris Keene, 422. Takeo Saki, 422. Darrell Bauer in 8th, 419. Hugh Miller, 397. And I'll be looking forward to an update. Make sure these numbers are right because this is a big drop from Hugh Miller at 397 in 9th place down to Marv Sargent at 341. A 56-pin drop. I'm just going to double check my numbers. Yes, 341 for Marv Sargent over on lane 21. Hugh Miller down on 5 and 6. $397. So that is correct. Tom Baker is at plus 331 in 11th. Robert Reed. Well, the cut didn't jump 30-something pins, but it did jump, if this is correct, it did jump 25.
Wow.
26.
Wow.
Johnny Petraglia was the cut after the 3rd game at plus 299. And right now I'm showing Robert Reed at plus 330. Yeah, it all checks out. Waiting on the official update. Johnny Petraglia drops to 13th place after 3 splits and 7 strikes last game for a 206. He is at plus 305, 25 pins out of the cut. Saban at plus 291. Ron Hostler plus 267. John DeSantis plus 261. And anyone after that is more than 50 pins out of the cut unofficially as the bowlers Some early on, some late in Game 5. We joked about it, and it came true.
This is what happens when we joke on air. Cuts go crazy.
Looking up and down the house at some guys that are late into their 5th game. Hugh Miller, spare, open, 6-bagger down on lanes 5 and 6. The rest of his pairs not entirely relevant when it comes to the cut. John Babbitt can max in the 230s. Tom Baker, who is 11th, is on a max of 248. And then Steve Slifka can max in the 190s.
Over on the high end, Ty Dawson continuing his striking ways. 5 out of 6 on 53 and 54.
Yes, sir.
Is making the charge.
Tom Baker looks like he struck, so he will have the opportunity to double his 10th frame, be in the 240s. Hugh Miller is up momentarily, trying to string 7 in a row after a split in the 2nd frame. Impatiently waiting on an official update, but I know that our staff and management of the tournament want to make sure that anything they put out there, especially with 2 games to go, is correct. I know when I've personally run my short format tournaments, the one thing I know bowlers want from the tournament staff during the tournament more than anything is not just correct, but timely scoring updates. So that's the one thing that I work as hard as I can to get those numbers to the bowlers as quickly as possible, because they want to know if they're near the cut. You want to know that number.
So you're saying all those folks who say they don't watch scores are liars?
I'm saying that people that say they don't watch scores, it's true for them if they're way in the lead or they have no chance.
All right.
I do believe there is a small contingent of the bowling population that does not scoreboard watch. I think there are some of those people out there.
I'm very jealous of those folks because I felt that was always my downfall. Looking back at it now as now a non-competitive bowler, attempting to review what was a less than spectacular time on the lanes, was that many times, you start to crunch those numbers, and I was 100% guilty of that, knowing, okay, well, I need a double here to kind of keep this match close, or, wow, I really need to shoot 220 this game, and I have a max of 226, so if I don't get this strike, I'm done, and then you do things that your body doesn't want you to do. You tighten up, the smallest things go off, your arm swing isn't as free as it should be, and all of a sudden you get in trouble, So for those folks, I definitely do tip their hats off to them, but I do feel the large majority is just like you and I, and just kind of peeking up there at that scrolling leaderboard online, or on site here, I should say. It's Marv. Gets that 7-pin out of there.
Now, I've always been someone who wants to know the number. Even if I'm leading, I'll just be curious, hey, what is it? But I don't want to say I thrive off knowing it, but it helps me to know what I need. Maybe just it doesn't affect me.
He's got ice in his veins, folks.
I am a shot maker.
I like it. Hugh Miller continuing to strike.
Yes, he does.
He has shaken off some of those early bad breaks on 22. Ty Dawson still striking as well.
Tom Baker, 9 count on that first ball in the 10th. He'll be in the 220s.
We had another odd hit on 22 where a pin flew in front of A 6-10 for Don there.
I wish I knew what that. I guess it's the 3-pin. It's the only pin that makes sense. It's not a lefty kicking a head pin off the sideboard. I think it's that 3-pin. Yeah.
Yeah, that was totally the 3-pin in the.
What? Wow. Hugh Miller doubles that 10th. He's going to be in the 260s. Tom Baker did spare that single pin. He could max out 227. Still no 16-game update on the scrolling standings in front of us. Hugh Miller 266. That's going to put him at 463. Tom Baker going to be at 357. Take a look at our leaders real quick. If I can find them, where'd they go? Ron Moore's 290 max through 5 frames. Kevin Croucher, double, spare, strike, spare. Benny Hafes sitting down in 3rd. Chop spare in the 1st, strike. 9 spare, 9 spare, 9 count in the 5th. He is shooting that single pin momentarily. Ty Dawson in 4th. As we said, he is a strike machine this game and all day, until he leaves a single pin in the 8th and promptly misses it. We've seen a lot of that last couple of days. 9 dash. Just kind of gives me the twitches. Pete McCordick down in 5th, crossing with Ty Dawson. McCordick clean through 8 frames. He can max at 217. Some of the bowlers right around that cut. Johnny Petraglia, halfway through game 14, has yet to catch a double and split the first frame.
Do have a quick question in the chat that I don't know if I can 100% accurately answer, but I can give you a few candidates for sure. Dale Diamond asking the oldest player to cash this week and the age, and we have a few folks who would fall into the super duper senior category of being 70 plus, and 2 of those players who are on the lanes right now, I know for sure, are Junichi Yajima, our 2016 champion. He is 73, and the Hall of Famer, both on the USBC and PBA side, Johnny Petraglia at 72, both in the cashers round right now. So those are the quick answers for that. I don't have the official tally, but actually, you know what? I think we talked about Ron Winger as well. I feel he might have been north of 75. $77 for Ron. So there we go. Ron Winger in the cut. As well at 77 years young.
Ron Moore still striking down on 41 and 42, max of 290 through 7 frames.
He has decided to shake off that that less than stellar 2-game run. Looks like we're all done with game 5 over on 17 and 18.
David Axon was one of those bowlers who was kind of on the outside looking in. Needed a plus 100-ish day, a little more than that. And he has struggled, to say the least, on our featured pair, not just this game, but this afternoon. Right around even through 4 games. So I would feel comfortable saying that probably our top 9 are pretty set. I feel comfortable saying that I would say at least the top 7 for sure are going to make it, barring any kind of drastic, back-to-back 150s or something along those lines. But right now, 7th place is Takeo Saki at plus 422. The cut, again, these are all unofficial. We have yet to receive an update from the tournament office after 16, but feel pretty confident. 12th place, Robert Reed, plus 330. So Saki at plus 422, tied with also Chris Keene at 422. That's your 6th and 7th places. Daryl Bauer, 419. You got Hugh Miller in 9th, who was at 397, and then shot 266 that game to get to a plus 463. So seeing that gap between 12th and 13th, there's a 25-pin gap. Kind of makes the math easy and the tracking of scores easy as you head into the last game. It eliminates, when you have 8 guys that are under a 40-pin blanket, all of a sudden it gets a little confusing, but that's not so much the case right here, as Alan Sabin is plus 291 in 14th, and then it's 24 pins down to Ron Hostler in 15th. And then Marv Sargent is plus 341 up in 10th, so between 10th and 14th, you've got 50 pins. Makes tracking pretty simple, for our purposes anyway.
Looks like we did get that update here on site, plus 330 the number for that 12th spot, so. We'll let it scroll through to the end of 50 here, and then it'll come back. Some more Croucher, Hafes, Dawson, McCordick, Keene, Sakai, Bauer, Miller, Sargent, and Baker at plus 331. And then whoever is at plus 330.
Robert Reed.
Is it Robert Reed? Robert Reed, plus 330.
Petraglia, 305. Alan Sabin, 291. Ron Hostler, 267. And John DeSantis at 261. He just fired off a 191 game.
So that was 31 pins? 31 pins. Wow. Just about done with getting to another one of those awkward moments where we have occasional bowling going on.
Ty Dawson, 246 that game.
That was with a missed single pin in there too.
Yes, after he missed the single pin in the 8th, he ran off the sheet for a nice 246.
Ty having himself a round.
Chris Keene, 2 opens, no doubles this game going into the 10th. It's kind of what we talked about. This isn't what you wanted to do. He can max at 190. He is currently plus 422. Again, the cut 330, so he's got some wiggle room. Defending champion Mike Diaz is going to shoot 229 this game, be plus 182, so he will not have a chance to defend his title. Getting into the step ladders, he will miss the match play cut. Things just never seem to match up well for Mike this week.
Regardless, it's been a successful week for Mr. Diaz, as we talked about leading into this event. He did win the PBA 50 event that took place in Brentwood, California, just a few days ago. Heading into this event, so Mike had talked about kind of working himself back to where he was when he won this event last year, and obviously winning an event will certainly get you going. But he'll have a day or two to rest up. Preparation for his run at the Senior Masters. That was his third career PBA 50 Tour title.
Kevin Croucher split the 8th frame. He can strike in the field ball for 205. Stop me if you've heard this before. Ron Moore has a lot of strikes.
I'm not going to stop you because I've heard you say it before.
Spare 8-bagger as Moore steps up in the 10th. Johnny Petraglia with 2 first ball gutters this game.
Wow.
1 on a strike, which he spared the attempt, and 1 on a spare, so he lost the count and got 8 on the attempt.
Yeah, just looking through live scoring, we've seen a lot of those this week, or it seems like
more than you would expect.
More than we would expect, relatively compared to where guys have been playing.
Yes.
So really haven't seen too many folks playing first arrow on either side of the lane. So that just kind of makes that curious to see why we've had so many of those. And apparently there's definitely a quick OB if you get it right or left off your hand, depending on which side of the lane you're attacking things from. But yeah, there have been a sneaking number of those. I haven't seen too many across our feature pairs.
Yeah, I haven't seen one like with my eyeballs, but we've seen them on the scoring. We have probably 4 or 5. I've seen 4 or 5 this week.
I've seen that many. I feel that many today.
Yeah, well, and before those 2. Ron Moore, 8 count in the 11th. He will shoot a max of 278.
He's going to eclipse the 4,000 total of pinfall as well. $4,007 now the total for Ron Moore. That game in the books.
Ron Hostler, who was at plus 267 and 63 pins out of the cut, just shoots a nice 241 to get to plus 308. Again, the cut was plus 330. And we're just waiting on a couple more guys to finish up. Daryl Bauer and Alan Sabin both on the same pair, entering their 10th frames. Sabin could have doubled to get into the 240s. An 8 count a red 8 count, so he split the 10th frame. Not sure if it's a makeable, something like a 310 or a 4-6. Bauer got up, could have doubled for the 220s. 9 count first shot, so waiting on 49 and 50, way down the other end of the house. And whatever Saban left, he missed both of them for 221. That will put him at 312. Bauer converted the single pin. He can max at 214. If he did that, he'd be in the 433, be at plus 433. Like Bauer, 7 count on his fill to get to plus 430. So it looks like, unofficially, 12th place. Let's see. Extend this down. Unofficially, 12th place. Robert Reed still at 328.
So after a 31 pin jump, we drop
2.
Unofficially. Robert Reed has been living dangerously all day, right around that number.
He's at 328. Marv Sargent plus 353 in 11th, so a 25 pin gap. Alan Saban 13th at plus 312, so he's 16 back. Ron Hostler, after that nice 240 game, is at plus 308. He's 20 pins out, and then it's a big drop down to Johnny Petraglia at plus 281.
Petraglia delivers a strike in frame number 2 right there. And after looking at that shot and kind of the trajectory of it all, I could see if he got one left a little quick, it could not pick up soon enough and end up in the channel. So playing a fairly steep angle, so that's going to give away that miss room. Robert Reed actually one pair to our left at the moment on 17 and 18. So if you want to watch Robert's exploits here in the final game of the Cashers round, it is available. If you go down in the selection below, we have 8 channels currently live, 5 of them with the PWBA Sonoma County Open in Rohnert Park, California, and 3 here in Las Vegas for the Super Senior Classic. To be eligible for the SSC, competitors have to be age 60 or older as of the start of the event. Hey, Jay Young. How about that? Nice little 6-7-9 conversion. Daniel, I don't think you caught that, but that was a very fun moment there for Harry Sellens after it was a frustrating 10-pin. We'll see it here on our playback. I don't know if we're going to catch all of it, but he was pretty happy with that shot to ring a 10, and he's going to count to 10 afterwards. And
8, 9, 10. I like that.
Count to 10, Harry. Cover up the spare. That's why he is the legend.
Well, went back and double-checked all the plus-minus numbers versus the their recaps up on the screens right now through the live scoring, and I'm pretty confident that everything's correct. Again, we'll wait on an official number, but looks like 12th place right now is Robert Reed at 328. It's 25 pins up to Marv Sargent at 353, and 16 pins down to Alan Sabin. Another 4 down to Ron Hostler at 308. So I think really right now you're watching between Tom Baker at plus 357 and Ron Hostler at plus 308. You've got 49 pins over top of 5 bowlers. I think those are the 5 that are really fighting for this. Towards the top, we do have a change in the second place position. Ron Moore is 607, Ty Dawson 496, Kevin Croucher 376, Hugh Miller 463, Takeo Saki 454, Benny Hafes 450, Daryl Bauer 430, Pete McCordick 418, Chris Keene 410, Tom Baker 357, and then Sargent 353 and Robert Reed at 328.
Daniel, in case no one has told you yet today, you've done some excellent work this week. So,
well, thank you very much.
Excellent work.
This,
I just want that on live stream. That
for the record,
in case no one else mentions it.
Oh my gosh!
What on earth? What on earth just happened?
I'm not laughing. I'm not.
What on earth just happened there?
We both did the same thing. We both pull out our phones to record this. Joe Salvemini on lane 22. Watch this 3-pin.
So it's...
And then I don't really blame him for missing all of them on the spare attempt. I don't know that I would... He's still looking back at it.
So it seems the 3-pin is the common denominator here in our confusion of what's going on lane 22 that we've seen throughout the course of our trials and tribulations here on lanes 21 and 22.
You know, I want to send that video to some people who are smarter than me about some of this stuff and see if they can explain to me. It's not visibly offset. It's got to be something with that sidewall that's causing that pin to do that. I might send that video and go, look, can anyone explain this to me, or put it on social media? Just say, look, can anyone explain what in the world, as Harry Sullins carries the half pocket strike, what in the world is going on here? I kind of need answers.
Because we've seen it from both of the left and the right side, so it's hasn't been hand dominant.
Yeah, it's not picky.
But definitely some. And Jay Young comes back with a high flush 7. I feel there's going to be a hit like this that's going to define our stepladder finals tomorrow. Just over the course of what we've seen.
I think you're right.
Over the course of this, there might be a hit that sneaks in there that everyone in the crowd's just going to have one of those loud hushes or ohs or oh my. And not the how about that or bang from Emil Williams Jr. So. Ty Dawson continuing his strong start, front 4 before a spare opportunity in frame number 5. And Johnny, come on, there we go. At least give him something. That pair's not agreeing with folks, but nice cover there from John.
All right, the kind of the 5 guys we were talking about watching. We'll go through them real quick. Over on lane 5, Alan Sabin starts with the front 3. He's currently 16 pins out of the cut. Jump over to lane 14, which gives us Tom Baker, 3-bagger, 9-spare, strike. Lane 17 right next door. Robert Reed, who is the cut, strike, 9-spare, 9-spare, double. And he is currently on the approach for the 6th frame. I think he likes it. Half pocket strike. It's what you want to see when you're fighting to stay the number or improve that.
Absolutely.
Down on lane 30, looking at Marv Sargent. Spare strike, spare double, split in the 6th. Marv is 25 pins to the good in the cut in 11th. And the last bowler that we're kind of tracking, Ron Hostler, down on 46. Where are we at here? Ron, waiting on live scoring to update real quick. Maybe I shouldn't have said real quick. It's not being real quick. There we go. Double. 9-spare, 9-spare strike.
Oh, we got scores rolling on the bottom of the scoreboards now. That's a new addition. All right.
Oh, nice. Okay.
And it's updated. Looks
top.
like plus 328. And look at this guy, Craig Moore.
.328, 353, 357, 312, 308, 281, 275, 252. Looks like all the numbers we've been giving you are correct. We have that 49-pin blanket over those 5 bowlers. Robert Reed carries another one in the 7th frame. That'll be a 4-bagger for Reed, who is currently the number. So the guys that need to do some work, Alan Sabin and Ron Hostler. Sabin way down on 5 and 6 is on the front 3. I think he's completed the 4th frame, but scoring hasn't caught up yet. And then over on 45 and 46 is Hostler, double spare, strike. He is currently up in the 6th frame, has probably completed the frame, waiting on live scoring. Petraglia again right in front of us on our featured pair. Really needed a pretty big game this game. He can max at 239. I don't think that's going to get it done, looking at the pace that the bowlers around him are on. Skip down to 3 and 4. Still no update on Sabin's 4th frame. We may be waiting on something down on that pair because they've been stuck in their current positions for a while. Just as I got down there, Sabin was throwing his 4th frame shot and left a light swisher 710.
No.
And he was 16 pins behind Robert Reed, who is over right next door on 17 and 18, missed a single pin in the 8th. He can max out at 236. So Saban, not dead to rights yet, but a bad break on a Swisher 710 is not going to help.
Over the course of 18 games, you're going to get your hits here and there, but certainly don't want to. Those are the ones that you end up dwelling on towards towards the end of it. Even though obviously many things go into that. Roy Yamanua, shoot 269 this game. That would be an outside stretch of plus 247.
So that put him at 316.
So probably not enough, but you never know. This week, we really can truly say
we don't know.
We don't know because it's been that kind of week. Marv Sargent max out now at 191. He had some pins to play with, so that's going to be.
He's using all of them.
He's going to be absolutely. There's not too many to have at there.
And the guys that are around that cut are all kind of pacing in that 220 range, and I mean. He shoots 181. He drops from plus 353 down to plus 334. That could spell some trouble.
Trouble. Hostler is staying pretty consistent so far. Needs a few more hits here to really start making some noise and put some pressure on the folks in front of him. They can still max out at 248 over on 45 and 46. Ron Moore cruising along, doing his thing as if it ain't no thing.
But a chicken wing.
Oh, let's go. Takeo Sakai clean. Benny Haves clean. Saban bounced back with a strike after that Swisher 710. Robert Reed missed a single pin in the 8th frame.
Yes, he did.
Bounce back with a strike, though. He can max at 236. Pete McCordick, who's just going to have some extended play coming up here, having a nice final game. Still shoot 259 this game. Ty Dawson continuing strong. Tom Baker is going to be plus this game, so I think he's going to be safe, not going to have to worry about dropping.
Marv Sargent split the 10th frame.
Oh, goodness. Oh, goodness.
170 even. That's going to drop him to plus 323.
Robert Reed ahead of that pace, so he should jump. Sargent there to solidify his spot. And the question is going to be, can someone from the outside really jump in? It didn't look like anyone who was kind of.
What's Yamanua doing?
He was still striking.
He
but,
struck the 9th. I saw that.
He's still going to be less than Marv dropping out.
Yeah, he'd be in the teens. That's right.
Robert Reed, that's it's not the most fun you have to shoot at in the 10th frame, but if there's any good news, he's not giving A-pins back to the field, so he's still going to be ahead of Sargent even if he misses the 258 over on lane 18. Ron Hostler did deliver a double in the 8th, a 9 count in the 9th. That's going to drop his max down to 227 now with the spare conversion. At plus at 308, that would allow him to jump over Sargent. So Alan Saban farther back in the standings.
Reed chops the spare to finish at 332. Saban has doubled on that split.
Croucher finishes at 171 this game, so he is potentially going to give some spots back to the field.
Is it 171?
171.
Puts him at 447.
Hugh Miller's going to shoot 2-0 this game. Tom Baker's going to be in the 2 teens. Petraglia shoots 239 in front of us.
Puts him at 320 over.
So that is not going to be enough to jump any of those guys ahead of him. So Hostler and Saban right now are strongest candidates.
Hostler spared the 9th on a double. He can max at 227.
Looks like 39.72 the overall total for Tom Baker.
Hostler's first strike in the 10th.
Once again, way down on the low end of the house. Once again, we're following live scoring, as you can too. So we're going to keep this channel live.
He got the second one. That's going to put him ahead of Marv Sargent. Assuming decent count. The stats below the frame by frame are showing him at 39.35. There you go, 227. Ron Hostler.
Plus 335. So right now he has jumped in. Marv Sargent has dropped out.
Still waiting on Saban, who is thrown 3 strikes after that Swisher 710 in the 4th frame, which was on the tail end of the first 3 strikes.
So with that delay from that pair, it's going to be a little boring for us as far as visually what's going on, but we can certainly continue to talk about it. Or dare I say, we can get another camera, we can put it on us as we do that, give the folks at home a real scare.
No, according to that nice lady sitting behind us earlier, we are eye candy, remember?
Oh yes.
How could you forget that?
She was a very nice lady. I'm a big fan of hers. Takeo Sakai is going to finish at plus 451. Looks like Benny's going to be at 465. This might be the only pair left going.
It sure sounds like it, because it just got really quiet in here.
So right now, live scoring. Let's see here if I can actually get a shot of that on the. That'll be my greatest moment. We can watch the scores together then. Let's try that again.
So Saban is at plus 312. He would need 212 this game to jump Marv Sargent.
So close to getting this right. Let me be great, Wirecast.
Saban begging for the pins down there. I think that was a high flush 7 pin. Looks like right now, I believe right now 12th place is Robert Reed at 332. Saban is at 312. So I think unofficially he would need 221.
All right, folks, let's hope our screens stay with us here, but we're going to watch live scoring on the live stream right now. So
Saban shooting the single pin, converts it.
So once again, let's see. Always we got to be. So 220 would give us a potential of a roll-off. However, based off of we do not need to freeze up right there. There we go. All right. So the odds of
8-1. 8-1 would give you
8-1
220.
would give us 220. So nine out would be
221.
221. So at least 9 on the first shot for Allen will get him into the top 12 and into match play here.
Hang on. Yeah.
Because that'd be 212, 221.
Okay, yeah, sorry.
So you were correct the first time. So that'd be 211 and then 819.
I'm going to go down and watch.
220. All right. Daniel Farish away to bring us the details. Alan Saban up on the approach right now. Once again, 9 or a strike, and he is moving on. And that looked like a strike from here, folks. Just based off of the reaction. It even sounded good. So it looks. Was that a. Is that holy moly or more?
That was holy free moly. I think my reaction is based off the fact that we've been here all day and I don't know that I've seen Allen throw a shot in the last couple of, 4 games.
I feel we caught him very early in this event.
Off his hand, I thought that ball was right. I thought he was missing the head pin. He got that thing out to 4, 5, 6. And it came back and hit the half pocket pretty hard and slapped out. I mean, the 10 didn't have a chance. It was a strong half pocket hit. The 6 slapped out the 10. That was all she wrote. But I was thinking 248 or a 1248. I was thinking something ugly.
So with that, and as we were following live scoring here, it looks like we had 2 jump in and 2 jump out. So unofficially, we had a Marv Sargent drop to plus 323. Robert Reed actually moved up, but was not enough as Ron Hostler got to 335. So it looks like Ron's going to be the cut, since Allen is going to be in the 240s here. So that's going to push him into the plus 350 range. So unofficially, we believe it's going to be
We're saying 335. Is what we're thinking?
335.
So the numbers I'm sure about up top, or I'm pretty sure about: Ron Moore 632, Ty Dawson 532, Hugh Miller 466, Benny Hapes 465, Takeo Saki 451, Kevin Croucher 447.
Correct. He
Wow.
he shot 170 that game.
Okay. And then I did not catch the last game scores for Bauer, who was at 430, McCordick, who was at 418, or Keene, who was at 410.
Well, Bauer was on that pair, so that still might be.
There he is, yep, 4063, which would be 463 plus. That puts him in fifth. McCordick and Keene, I heard you say McCordick was having a decent last game. I know Keene was doing well enough that game. And then Tom Baker, 372, Alan Sabin, 355, and unofficially we believe that Ron Hostler, who shoots 227 the last game, to get to 335 is the number, and we believe that Robert Reed, who shot 204,
That opened in the 10th frame too.
opened in the 10th frame, and the single pin miss in the 8th at 332. Marv Sargent also split the 10th frame to shoot 170 at 323. So it looks like a missed single pin and or a split in the 10th will cost Robert Reed, who's going to unofficially miss it by 3 by our calculations, and then a split in the 10th and a 170 game with opens throughout the game by Marv Sargent at 323 to miss it by 12. Hall of Famer Johnny Petraglia fires off a nice 239 the last game on the live stream pair to finish at 320, unofficially missing it by 15.
Excellent rundown. Once again, excellent job this week, Daniel. It's been an absolute pleasure to have you join us, and I'm excited to get another round with you.
I'm looking forward to match play. That's, as far as watching bowling, that's my favorite part. Well, and I guess competing on the lanes, it's my favorite part as well. It's the intensity. It's knowing that if you shoot 180 and win your match, you outscore the guy ahead of you who shot 200 and lost. So I absolutely love round robin match play. That was my favorite part of junior gold, because the 4 years that I bowled jog, 1 year was in Buffalo when they changed the format back in 07 and there was no round robin, but 05, 06, and 08. You got to Friday, top 16 games of round robin. I love round robin match play.
That's what will be coming up next here at the Super Senior Classic, a unique format with the top 12. They will be split into two groups. The players with who are essentially sitting in the standings in an odd number, 1, 3, 5, 7, 9, and 11, will be in one group, and then the evens will be in a separate group, and those they will essentially just face off against each other. The leader of each of the groups, based off a total pinfall and bonus pins, will get an automatic spot in the stepladder finals, and whoever has the most overall pins out of those two is going to be the number 1 overall seed.
What do we have right there?
All right, this is
Oh, those are the numbers.
those are the numbers. It's still, they haven't been announced yet, but yes, as a double check for us, it looks like we are on point so far.
Was that McCordick at 441 and Keene at 437?
Yep.
And then a drop to 372. Okay, so
it looks like based off of this, we are good to go. We're going to run this back to Tournament Director Greg Moore.
I'll go ahead and let me double check. Just make sure before I say anything out loud. Excuse me. Is that 465 for Benny Hafes? 453 for Daryl Bauer. 51, 47, 41, 37. Thinking out loud. Sorry. 37, 72. Sabin at 352. And again, Hostler at 35. Okay, cool. So,
looking at, I'm trying to, who jumped in? Who had the data? Because I'm just looking at our top 12 entering today, and most of these names appear to be the same, too. So Robert Reed
they are?
dropped out, but who jumped in then? Hostler. Had to be Hostler. Where was he at?
After coming in, Hostler was at 153.
So he had the biggest run of anyone. Tied for 27th to start today, so he was at 153 to start, so that means he was more than 80 pins out of the cut.
That means Hostler, the last 6 games today, he went 192. Here you go. 259, 218, 245, 241, 227.
How about that?
There you go.
Ron. Way to go, Ron. That's what we like to see. Some big numbers out there.
Okay, so they haven't announced it yet, but if that's what we're going with, then here's what we have. Heading into round-robin match play in the odd pool, you will have Ron Moore, 632, Hugh Miller, 466, Daryl Bauer, 453. Update my top 12 numbers here. There we go. Daryl Bauer, 453, Kevin Croucher, 447, Chris Keene, 437, Alan Sabin, 352, and your even pool, Ty Dawson, 532, Benny Hafes, 465, Takeo Saki, 451, Pete McCordick, 441, Tom Baker, 372, and sneaking in after an amazing back 5 games today, Ron Hostler at 335. It is barely noon, and it's going to be another 3 hours before we come back for the round-robin match play portion of the event. That will determine who will advance. We will, after round-robin match play, we will know who our 1 and 2 seeds are in the final stepladder that will take place tomorrow. We will also know which 3 competitors inside each pool will advance to the group stepladder tomorrow morning.
That we will.
So what do we do for 3 hours?
Pot
bowl, house shoes, house balls. Let's go.
No.
Oh.
Good try, though. I do appreciate the effort there. Well, we will do some rearranging for. Oh wait, how tall are the gutter caps here? Are they?
They're pretty short.
They're pretty short.
They're not woodland tall.
Well, I will still take your credentials in that situation. Despite the height of the gutter caps here at Samstown, but yes, it'll be opportunity for us to kind of reset the cameras here. We'll have a few more pairs in play for match play, so everything kind of condenses a little bit more. We're still going to have, I believe we're going to add 19 and 20, and then we're going to switch some of the pairs on the outside cameras, but we're going to have at least 4 matches available at a time, so that's going to be pretty cool. And then, as you said, at the end of it all, we are going to be able to know 2 of our players for the 4 who will be advancing to tomorrow's stepladder finals, which will be taking place at 2 p.m. Eastern, 11 local time here in Las Vegas. But yeah, for approximately 3 hours, we are free and easy. It is Samstown and Gambling Hall. Not that I gamble or anything, but
I mean, we could. I'm hourly, so I could clock out. Go on break.
This is true as well. But right now, the official call.
That's what we're waiting on.
Still waiting just to double check, but we're feeling pretty confident with our numbers outside of any scores that may have been entered incorrectly on the score sheets themselves that have to be adjusted. But essentially right now we are just waiting for the official tally.
Uh-oh.
So it looks like they're essentially running down a score sheet here, but once again, we're still just talking, still waiting for the official cut number here.
That's one thing, and I don't know who's what pair score sheet or whose score sheets they're looking for, but as a tournament director, typically if a score sheet's not turned in, it was somebody that probably bowled pretty bad and didn't want to bother turning in their score sheet. It's like, come on, guy. It's the last responsibility of a bowler who had a bad day. You might not want to do it. Or it could have been a bowler who bowled really well and in their utter excitement for making cut, completely forgot to turn in their score sheet. I know the first U.S. Open I bowled, going back to our discussion about Woodland Bowl, I think it was 2010, and I was crossing with, I want to look up his title, because he was, I want to say former USBC president. He's now a, you might know Aaron, George Lambert. Right, he no longer works, but he was, at one point he was USBC, not president, but he was a high-level director who's, I forget what he was. Anyway, George Lambert bowled at Wichita State University, was a member of the USBC company, family for a while, and I crossed with him at my first U.S. Open, and I remember after day one, I incorrectly added up his score sheet, which back then was a $50 fine for both the bowler and the person who signed their score sheet. And they, oh, you turned the camera on us. I was wondering what you were doing. I wasn't even paying attention. And then the second day, my score sheet was incorrectly added up, and he was the one that did it. And that's my memory that stands out from that U.S. Open is back-to-back days we messed up each other's score sheets.
That is tough to do.
Yeah.
George is from Canada, though, so I'm sure he was very helpful in making sure that was right the next day. So, Miss George.
He wasn't happy with me, I'll tell you that. He was not happy with me after the first. I felt so bad. It was simple math, and I just completely botched it.
Those darn kids and their math. But yes, we turned the cameras around. I am Aaron Smith. I'm looking at the other thing, so that's why I'm not looking at the actual camera. To my right, but your left on the screen, is Daniel Farish. Once again, we were just awaiting the official number from our tournament director, Greg Moore. So while we have the opportunity, a big shout out to all the volunteers this week. On the USB side, we've had Chip and Robin McKee, Brandy Silva, a handful of other folks who work at the USBC Open Championships, including yourself, who have volunteered their time, some of them even on days off to come in, help keep scores, run everything for Greg and company as well to keep things smooth for our bowlers. So a big shout out to Dwayne Hagan and the tournament staff at the OC for allowing us to have a few of these great folks to help us out here at Samstown. In addition, a big thank you to Tom Pippinger and his staff here at Samstown. Once again, we always mention this, but Tom and his crew always look out for us, always offer a great tournament experience for the bowlers, so we definitely appreciate that. In addition, Mike Kaufman, who's the head of all the bowling centers of Boyd Gaming Properties across Las Vegas. Mike's definitely hands-on with each and every one of them. Does a great job, so thank you, Mike, for putting together some great staffs so we are able to have these great events and have them essentially like this one just go off, knock on wood, everything's been so good.
It has. This has been a very smoothly run tournament from start, not to finish because we're not finished yet, but from start to now. Everything as far as the office goes, we haven't had any breakdowns. We've had a couple respotting issues and this and that, but everything has run smoothly from the back of the pin setters to the front of the office.
Absolutely. Kegel, our official lane maintenance provider this week, has been out there waxing them up, making sure this 40-foot condition, which has had its, I think that's been the most interesting part this week, has been just kind of the flow of how this pattern has offered scores for people. It's been really been some points where it's been, we've seen a ton of scores, other points where we see those lulls in the scores as folks try to figure things out. And then similar to what we had during this round, we had a 31 pin jump followed by
a 2-pin drop.
2-pin drop. So I think this pattern has been very fair, very challenging, but at the same time, it's allowing the bowlers to go out there, put some strikes together too, which has definitely been fun for us. We got a 2-300 so far. Ron Moore, a tournament leader in Game 5 yesterday of qualifying, and today to kick things off, Daryl Bauer starting things off with 300 to put himself in position to make a run in match play. So he's certainly. And speaking of Daryl Bauer, he's going to walk. He's going to walk behind us right now. We're going to see him. There he is. There he is. There he goes. Oh. So, and we can have great moments just like that. So Daniel, heading into match play, as you mentioned, this is the part you look forward to.
Absolutely.
What are you expecting to see out here on the lanes? From what you've seen so far, who do you, maybe someone who's a little bit further back in the standings, who do you expect to kind of make a run, take advantage of these bonus pins, and put themselves in position?
Well, and I'm calculating how far behind everybody is inside of their own respective pools. But
I can assure you folks right now, he's not like on Facebook just chatting with folks or anything like that. He is working diligently in Microsoft Excel, and I'm learning because I'm not good at the Excel. So he's got equations and everything. This is impressive.
No, it's first of all, I feel very confident in saying that Ron Moore is going to lead his pool. One of the good things he has about us splitting them up like this is he had a 100-pin lead over second place Ty Dawson. Ty goes in the other pool. Ron Moore has a 166-pin lead over second place Hugh Miller in his pool.
There's only 180 bonus pins out there, so essentially Ron just has to stay even with whatever he was doing to secure that spot, which is incredibly advantageous for his third stepladder finals appearance in 4 attempts here at the SSC. It's going to be hard to argue against Ron with everything he's done so far just in the past, what are we talking, 50, 60 plus hours. It's going to be hard to argue that. And that whole little past history of his as well is pretty confident that Ron Moore will be potentially competing for the title this week.
Yeah, and then you look at some of these guys. I mean, Alan Sabin, he definitely had the biggest drop today, because when you go back and sort this, he was 5th coming into today. He was at 294 coming in, and he finished at 352, so he only went plus 58 today. Another guy that struggled today, Kevin Croucher, is plus 393, finished at plus 447. He went plus 54 today. And that puts both of them in not only in bad positions, but because of the way they fell, Croucher and Sabin are in the same pool as Ron Moore. So Ron Moore has pretty much locked up that number 1 spot, the automatic bid into the final stepladder. Now, I know a lot can happen in round-robin match play, but that's a lot of pins. And with as well as he's been bowling, something cataclysmic would have to happen to him and his game for him to fall from that top spot in that pool, as he's sitting right next to me. I don't think he hears me.
I don't think he's worried about any of that happening right now either.
But you put the guys that, Bauer shot 300 a day. Croucher led a squad and led a day. Alan Sabin was top 5 coming in. They're all in the same pool.
Makes it tough.
I think you would call that the death pool, if you would. And you look at the bottom, Ty Dawson absolutely fired off today. Benny Hafes struggled this morning. Takeo Saki struggled for about half the day, picked it up the back half. McCordick and Baker have been pretty consistent. And then Hostler got hot this morning the last 5 games to jump in. But the depth, what were we going to say?
Oh, well.
Your leader this afternoon, the number 1 seed as we go into match play right here in Las Vegas, Nevada, shooting plus 632, Ron Moore. And your 12th and final qualifier for match play this afternoon from Inglewood, Colorado at plus 335, Ron Hostler. All those in match play.
We got it right.
Roll call will be
yes.
at 2:30.
All right, that was Tournament Director Greg Moore giving us the final rundown of the overall leader as well as the number 12 spot, plus 335. As expected, Ron Hostler from Inglewood, Colorado, putting together the big day to jump all the way from being tied from 27th, moving into the top 12.
That's despite ditching the last ball in the second game.
Despite ditching the last ball in the second game. Here's a run right here.
Yeah, it's the one right here.
Well, hey, Ron, you did everything else you had to do, so congratulations. Great bowling, sir.
But real quick before we sign off, just looking at the deficits. Of course, Ron Moore has a 166 pin lead over second in his pool, but between second in his pool and fifth is 29 pins. And you've got Alan Sabin, who is 85 behind the guy in front of him. So a real close gap, basically seeds 2 through 5 in that pool A, let's call it. And then pool B, you've got 67 pins from Ty Dawson down to Benny Hafes. And then between Hafes and McCordick, who's fourth in the pool, you've got a 24-pin gap. And then Tom Baker is 160 behind the leader there, and Ron Hostler 197. So you've got three guys, Sabin, Baker, and Hostler, who have some work to do. Sabin had a bad day. Hostler had a great day. Baker's been pretty consistent, just kind of even. Hasn't been crazy high. Hasn't shot anything crazy low. And then you've got a tight pack in both pools between 4 and 5 guys.
And that's the important thing to remember for those guys who are not in that top position. You just got to make the top 4. So to have a chance to make it into the stepladder finals with the unique group stepladder, which will take place tomorrow morning, noon Eastern, 9 local time here in Las Vegas. Just want to make the top 4 to still have a chance. So a total of 8 players will step into tomorrow's action with the opportunity to win the title. We'll get down to 4 and then down to 1. But for right now, we're going to take a quick break here at the Samstown Casino, Gambling Hall?
Gambling Hall.
Gambling Hall. And we will be back on the lanes it's 12:09 right now, so just under 3 hours. So that'll be 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 local time here in Las Vegas. For Daniel Farish, I'm Aaron Smith. Thank you again for joining us here. It's been fun. Daniel, once again, fantastic work. He's going to teach me Excel on the break, so I can take that into future events. But we're going to go ahead and sign off, take a quick lunch, and we'll see you back here on Bowl TV. So, Daniel?
Yep.
See you soon, bud.
See you guys later.